Steam just dropped a bomb. At least that's what the headline screamed. No more ads in your games. Valve bans in-game advertising. Except that's not exactly what happened. What really went down is way more complicated. And if you care even a little about where gaming is headed, this story matters. Because while Valve didn't create new rules, they did quietly move their advertising policies into the spotlight. And that subtle shift might mean they're finally ready to crack down. Not just on spammy ads, but on a much bigger threat to how games are designed. The twist? Some of the worst offenders in this mess are games you've probably played, and what Steam just did, it might be the start of a war between publishers, platforms, and players. So yeah, this isn't about ads. This is about who controls your games, and how far they'll go to cash in. If you thought ads were just a mobile game problem, think again. The video game ad industry is on track to rake in over $100 billion globally by 2025. And that's not some vague future prediction. That's already in motion. Mobile paved the way, sure, but AAA publishers, they've been watching and waiting. Free-to-play giants like League of Legends and Genshin Impact built empires on cosmetics and whales. But for the millions of players who don't spend a dime, ads are the golden ticket. That's why you've got companies like Jagex, yeah, the RuneScape devs, publicly considering ad-supported models. Even after backlash, they haven't closed the door on it. And over at EA, CEO Andrew Wilson didn't just hint. He straight up told investors they're actively exploring in-game ads. Why? Because investors don't care about your immersion. They care about recurring revenue. For execs under pressure, ads are cheap, fast, and scalable. They don't require an art team or 6 months of development. Just a button prompt, a branded quest, and a line on a spreadsheet that says, growth. And with money like this on the table, you can bet they're all going to take a bite. So here's where things get slippery. Despite all the headlines screaming ban, Valve didn't ban ads in any new way. What they actually did was reorganize their documentation. Yep, moved a few paragraphs around. But that subtle shuffle, it matters. Steam took its old ad guidelines, tucked away in the fine print, and gave them their own section. Clear, visible, and suddenly a whole lot harder to ignore. And while the rules themselves aren't new, they've never been this bold or this direct. Valve now states, in plain language, no gating gameplay behind ads, no rewarding players for watching ads, no selling space on your Steam page to promote other games or products. Basically, you can't sell ad space on Valve's turf without Valve getting a cut. And look, this is smart, because without these rules, developers could easily start renting out their Steam store pages like cheap billboards. Imagine booting up your favorite indie game, only to see a pop-up hyping some rando crypto RPG. It'd be chaos, and Valve would make exactly $0 from it. So yeah, this wasn't just cleanup. It was positioning, and it tells us one thing loud and clear. Valve's watching now. Okay, so Steam slapped down rules on obvious ad garbage, but what about the not-so-obvious stuff? Here's where it gets weird, and a little shady. Steam's own policy makes one thing crystal clear. Product placement is totally fine. In fact, they straight up give examples. Real brands in sports games, logos on race cars, characters wearing branded clothes. That's all greenlit. But let's talk about how far that goes. Take Final Fantasy 15. Yes, the one with the cup noodle quest. It wasn't subtle. You literally had to help a character craft the perfect ramen using actual cup noodles. This wasn't lore, this was lunch. Then there's Death Stranding. The whole game looks like a Monster Energy ad. Crack a can, take a sip, boost your stamina. And just in case you forgot the brand, the camera lingers. A full shot, dead center, zero context. And it doesn't stop there. Norman Reedus sits down in your bunker and starts watching a real-world AMC show. Starring Norman Reedus. Is it immersion? Is it marketing? Yes. And because none of it interrupts gameplay, Valve lets it slide. But ask yourself this. What's the real difference between an ad you can't skip and a game that won't stop looking at the ad? That's the loophole, and devs know exactly how wide it is. Now that we've seen what Valve allows, let's talk about what devs are getting away with. Because here's the reality. Some studios are straight up poking the fence, not breaking the rules, but bending them until they scream. Take NBA 2K21. They added unskippable ads during loading screens. Ads for the Oculus Quest 2, no less. And these weren't in free-to-play games. This was a 60-plus title. Serving you commercials like you're watching cable. After a wave of backlash, they pulled it. Claimed it was unintended. But come on, how does a full-screen video ad make it in by accident? Then there's Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Players reported a full-screen promo popping up mid-game, pushing microtransactions from the in-game store. Ubisoft didn't confirm it was planned, but it conveniently aligned with the store sale. Convenient. So what is this? A glitch? A test run? Or publishers seeing what they can sneak by before Valve tightens the leash? Because once you normalize something like this, once players just shrug and move on, you've shifted the Overton window, and the next oopsie becomes the new normal. That's the play. Push just far enough to make tomorrow's outrage today's standard, and the more pressure these publishers feel to turn a profit, the more they'll test that line. Making games is brutal. AAA titles take 5+ years, cost hundreds of millions, and sometimes they flop in a weekend. So what do publishers do? They look for cheap wins. Ads are that win. Think about it. Building a DLC expansion means writers, voice actors, animators, QA testers, months of work. Running a one-time brand promotion, a few devs, a legal check, and a banner image. Executives love this. Low effort, high return, minimal risk. That's why you're seeing fewer big DLCs these days, and way more cosmetics, battle passes, and now, ads. EA's Andrew Wilson literally told investors they're exploring in-game advertising. And not just randomly, he said it would be a meaningful growth driver. Translation? They're building a system around it. Because Wilson's not just running EA, he's answering to investors, people who want graphs pointing up and to the right. They don't care how immersive the next Dead Space is. They care about recurring revenue and margin optimization. So yeah, when they say we'll be thoughtful about ads, what they really mean is we'll test what we can get away with. And if they can sneak it in without players revolting, they will. Let's shift gears for a second and talk about Discord, because they've done something brilliant. And publishers are definitely paying attention. You've probably seen it. Sponsored quests down in the sidebar. Do something simple. Join a server, try a new game, and boom, you get a free cosmetic. Sounds fun, right? But pause for a second. That's an ad. It's not just any ad, it's a gamified ad. A quest that rewards you for interacting with a brand. No pop-ups, no banners. Just a dopamine hit dressed up as gameplay. And the psychology? It's genius. It doesn't feel like marketing. It feels like progress. Now imagine that inside a full-priced game, a Call of Duty quest that gives you bonus XP for visiting a new Mountain Dew site. A Fortnite skin unlocked by watching a 30-second Red Bull trailer. It's not hypothetical. This is already happening in soft forms. Why does this work so well? Because it feels like choice. It's not watch this or else. It's here's a reward if you want it. And in a gaming culture built on FOMO, skins, and battle passes, you better believe people will say yes. It's advertising that slips past your defenses, because it doesn't act like advertising. And AAA publishers, they're watching Discord's playbook like hawks. Here's the truth no one says out loud. Valve doesn't care about ads because of morals. They care because they're not getting a cut. Let's break it down. If a dev runs an in-game ad for a brand, like Pepsi, Nike, or even another game, Valve earns nothing. But if that same dev sells DLC or skins using Valve's system, Valve gets 30%. Every time. See the problem? Unregulated ads bypass Steam's money machine. It's not about your experience. It's about protecting their revenue pipeline. This is the same reason Valve nuked NFTs off the platform. It wasn't just because NFTs were shady, though they were. It's because NFT games ran their own economies, trading outside the Steam ecosystem, making millions Valve couldn't touch. So what did Valve do? They shut it down. Cold. And now, they're drawing a similar line with advertising. They're saying, look, if you want to make money on Steam, cool, but you're going to play by our rules, and if your revenue doesn't flow through our systems, then it doesn't belong here. It's not villainous. It's business. Valve is protecting the only thing that gives them power, control of the platform. And honestly, that might be the only thing standing between you and a full-blown adpocalypse. So, where's all this headed? Picture this. Big publishers like EA, Ubisoft, maybe even Sony, build their own ad networks, just like Facebook, just like YouTube. But instead of banners or pre-rolls, they slip them inside your games. You log into your favorite shooter, and every day there's a new sponsored mission. Visit a website, watch a clip, buy a product, get rewarded in-game. Even worse, they already know who you are, your account, your region, your behavior. All that player data turns into targeted ad campaigns. Think Discord's cosmetic quests, but now they're tailored to you, and backed by billion-dollar brands. And if you think that sounds extreme, just look at how Unity, the game engine, made most of its money, not from premium games, but from mobile games stuffed with ads powered by Unity's own ad network. That's where this is going. And if Valve doesn't get involved, they risk losing control of their own ecosystem. Now imagine if Valve launched Steam ads, A full-blown platform where devs can run brand promotions within Steam, with Valve taking a cut. It hasn't happened yet, but if it ever does, the incentives change, the rules change, everything changes, because right now, Valve's position is aligned with us. They don't want ads that cut them out, but if they build their own ad machine, game over. But I really hope that never happens, because for now, Valve's still one of the few giants that's kept its focus on games first, and if they hold the line, there's still hope this mess doesn't flood the entire industry. So here's where we land. Steam didn't drop the hammer, they didn't start a war, but they did raise a flag, and in this industry, even a quiet signal matters. By spotlighting their ad policy, Valve's telling publishers, we're watching now, don't test us. And honestly, that's a win. Because the last thing we need is our favorite games turning into ad-soaked theme parks. But we've seen how fast things can change. NFTs, battle passes, loot boxes, all started small, then exploded. So yeah, Valve deserves credit for holding the line, but let's not pretend the threat is gone, because as long as games cost more and profits shrink, you better believe someone's going to find new ways to monetize your attention. And when they do, it won't be with your experience in mind, it'll be with the spreadsheet. But hey, there's still time to push back. If we stay loud, stay informed, and support games that respect our time, the future doesn't have to look like a 30-second ad roll. And speaking of bad trends, you won't believe what is happening to the AAA game industry.